Let's settle this debate once and for all. What's the true sequel to Halloween 1978 and why? What's up, everybody? Nick here at the Lost River Drive-In, dealing with sinus issues and a sore throat, but it's not going to stop me from stirring the pot like I've been doing in recent weeks when I've been pitting Halloween movies against each other. That's not going to stop. I'm having a really good time doing this series. It's really fun for me. It really helps me get some creative juices flowing, and this is obviously my wheelhouse. These are the movies that I love more than anything, so I can just ramble incessantly till the end of time and not care about the repercussions that there may be. So, tonight I wanted to pit two more against each other, but I wanted this to be a little bit more specific. Yes, this is versus this one, which one do I prefer? But honestly, it is answering a broader question, I think. What is the true sequel to Halloween 1978, and why? And obviously the two movies that we're pitting against each other are Halloween 2018 and Halloween 2. That's what we're doing here. Which one is better and why? And which one is the true sequel? So let's start with the pros of each movie. Obviously, Halloween 2 1981 is a fan favorite. It came out in 1981, made a lot of money. It was pretty well received, definitely by fans, and people were all in on the Michael Myers and Laurie Strode story. Hey, hook, line, and sinker, here we are. Halloween 2018, very similar. Halloween 2018 came out. It was super well received by critics and fans alike and made a lot of money. The difference with the two movies, obviously, is Halloween 2 goes the route of picking up literally the moment that the first one ended and giving us more backstory as to why Michael Myers is back in Haddonfield. Laurie Strode is his long-lost sister, and he wants to kill her, complete the cycle or whatever. He's weird. He likes to kill family. And Halloween 2018 says, no, they were not actually related. Halloween 2 no longer exists. This is just 40 years after the first movie. She was just a random person that was caught in his wake, basically. And those are the approaches that these two movies take. The pros with Halloween 2 are obviously picking up right after the first one ends. There's a lot of the atmosphere still there. There's a lot of just the look of the first movie. Part of that is because John Carpenter did some reshoots for this movie. And the other part of it was just the time period, being so close in time from the other one and having John Carpenter and Deborah Hill still be a part of it, and Dean Cundey, it really helped to kind of make this truly feel like a seamless sequel. It really does feel like one night. There are some jarring things in the movie that are a little bit different than the first movie, whereas we get a lot more of the blood and visceral sequences on screen that we didn't get in the first one. But, in the 80s, you had to up the ante. Everybody knew that. This was no secret anymore. Horror films and slasher films in particular, they were in vogue. And so if you were going to do it again, you got to go bigger. Bigger meant better at the time. And so you get a lot of that. Now, Halloween 2 does have a really good score. It's pretty much the same score from the first movie, but Alan Howarth kind of did his own thing with it. It sounds more metallic. There's also a lot. It's synth. It's really synth influenced. And so if that's your thing, you'll like it. I like it. I didn't like it the first time I watched the movie, but it grew on me. I was like, oh, this is so 80s. And now I'm like, oh, this is so 80s. I love it. Obviously, Laurie's back. Jamie Lee Curtis. She's good in the movie, even aside from that atrocious wig. The characters in the periphery are pretty good, too. You like the people that work at the hospital. You like Jimmy. You like Bud. There's a lot of good actors and good characters in this movie. The atmosphere is pretty good for the most part. It does feel like Halloween. It does look like Halloween. And it does kind of still have that small town vibe. Sometimes almost to a fault, though, where I'm like, okay, it's Halloween in a massive hospital, and there's nobody here. It's just not realistic. I don't care what time of year it is. There's going to be some people in the hospital, and there's nobody there. But minor gripe. Now, negatives about Halloween 2 are it is meandering at times. There are moments in this movie where it's literally just shots of hallways over and over again with nothing happening, with Laurie's theme playing throughout, which love Laurie's theme, and I know it's trying to set up mood and atmosphere, but at some point it is kind of overkill. It just becomes a little boring. The movie, although it starts really well, the middle portion of the movie, there are moments that drag incredibly. Halloween 2 also makes the mistake of taking their lead from the first movie and putting her in a hospital bed literally the entire time, and giving her almost no reason to be here until the very end. Now, you do get more of Loomis, and you get to see a little bit more of Loomis's kind of hysteria on full display, and obviously the stuff with Samhain and whatnot. There's some deepening of the lore there, and that's really cool. You get some returning characters, like Nancy Stevens is back as Nurse Marion, and that's cool. Now, having said that, Halloween 2 isn't one of my favorite Halloween movies because, like I said, there are a lot of moments in the movie that drag. They don't use Laurie enough. And although there are moments where they really nail the feel and the style of the original film, and like I said, I think I attribute a lot of that to Carpenter's involvement, there are moments where they completely miss the mark, where it doesn't at all feel like a direct continuation of Halloween, just in tone and in style. Some of that was probably Rick Rosenthal. So Halloween 2 at the end of the day is good. It's a good movie, but it's a mixed bag for me personally. Now, in my last video, I broke down Halloween 2018. You guys know the characters in the movie. You guys know the story. I'm not going to go through all of that again. But I will say Halloween 2018 took the very ballsy approach of saying, no, what if Michael Myers literally was just this masked psychopath that had a rampage one night where a couple people died in a small town, and this woman, 40 years later, still feels deeply affected by it and is worried that he's going to get out and, finish what he started. Halloween 2018, interestingly enough, doesn't play enough on that concept until you get to Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, where both of those movies really drove the point home. Laurie, this was never about you. You weren't his target. He doesn't give two shits about you. And Halloween 2018, that's what they were going for, but they don't lean into that enough. Now, he ends up at Laurie's compound at the end of the movie because of Sartain. That's very clear on screen to anybody watching, but they don't really call it out directly in that movie enough, at least for me to go, oh wow, that's a really interesting approach. So although they remove the brother-sister storyline, it isn't until the subsequent sequels that they really kind of lay it on thick that there's nothing special about you, Laurie Strode. You just happen to be there that night. So in that way, it's kind of a mixed bag for me as well. Both of these movies, I would say I have like a love-hate relationship with. Now, the question that I posed, which one do I prefer? If you would have asked me a year ago, just like with H2O, this would have been difficult. But as time is going on, man, I'm telling you, I'm falling out of love with Halloween 2018. And I really do think that a lot of people are going to as time goes on as well. Because I just don't think it broke enough new ground. It had this interesting premise of taking away the familial relationship and making this about, by chance, basically. Michael Myers just wanted to kill people. He was a killing machine. If you were in his way, you were going to die. But they don't play that up enough in this movie. Too many things happen by coincidence or circumstance that it almost kind of takes you out of that idea a little bit. You're like, oh, Michael's killing indiscriminately. Oh, there's Laurie. You know what I mean? It's just... And even then, I know in the movie it works, but like as someone that is aware of Halloween 2 and Halloween H2O and Resurrection, as you're watching it, it does take you out a little bit because you're like, okay, that was pretty easy. That was pretty convenient. So I just don't think they leaned hard enough into it. I really do think that if I were to choose right now, it's going to be Halloween 2. And I get a lot of shit sometimes from people that are like, oh man, I can't believe you have Halloween 2 in the back half of your ranking, like the disrespect. A lot of people say it's the best sequel. Some people say it's the best movie. I know people on this channel that watch my stuff that tell me Halloween 2 is my favorite Halloween movie. First of all, I respect the hell out of that. Please stick to your convictions, stick to your guns, and say what you feel. If this movie affects you that much, let it affect you that much. And I am happy that it does. Having said that, I'm going to take it over Halloween 2018. I really, really am going to take it over Halloween 2018, just simply for the fact that I think that Halloween 2 is close enough and enough moments in the movie in style and in tone to the original Halloween that it does feel like a seamless transition. It also, I think, does what movies should do in deepening the lore. See, one thing that Halloween 2018, like I said, was really cool, was a great idea in trying to say, hey, this wasn't about Laurie, this was all by chance. That's good, but then you need to deepen the lore in other ways. You have to make this character somewhat interesting in a different way now, and there wasn't really much of that. It was just like this mindless killer for no reason. And I know that's creepy to some people, but not really to me, because there's got to be some other deepening of the lore and the mythology there. There's got to be some other connective tissue, simply just because, if not, your premise is really hollow. It's just random acts of violence that are not at all tied together for any reason aside from that's just the town he's from. And again, that's not saying that Michael Myers having a motive is necessary. That's not what I'm saying, guys. Please do not mistake that. What I'm saying is if you're going to take that motive away from him, Where's the deepening of the lore? Is there significance to Haddonfield? Is there significance to Judith? Is there significance to Laurie or to Michael from Laurie? There's got to be other connective tissue there for a reason why this is such a palpable moment. And I just don't feel it in this movie. I know a lot of people love 2018 as well, so I'm not here to shit on you and tell you that you're wrong for that. But I'm going to take Halloween 2 over Halloween 2018. And then I guess I just answered the second question. What's the true sequel to Halloween 1978? It's Halloween 2. Even if a couple years ago I probably would have argued it wasn't, it is. It is for a lot of reasons. It is just for pop culture reasons. It's what everybody thinks of. You know, you think of Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, you think brother and sister. We can't help it. It is because it is literally a direct continuation of that movie from the exact same night with a lot of the returning cast in the same locations. It is simply just because the two movies just feel like one in a lot of ways and in a lot of moments. Halloween 2018 doesn't. There's a lot of differences in some of the characters. There's a lot of differences to the town. It doesn't look the same. It doesn't feel the same. Some of the people don't even seem like the same people. Now, I get it. That is intentional because you're trying to differentiate between those sequels. But if you're asking me today, what is the true Halloween 2? It's Halloween 2 1981. I mean, it just is. Look, we can run away from the Michael and Laurie or brother and sister thing, but you all know we're always thinking about it. When you were sitting in that theater and Halloween ends and you were watching Laurie kill Michael Myers finally, I know you were thinking to yourself, in your mind, you're like, man, I see this as like this familial showdown, you know, this sibling rivalry they've had for years, even if the movie isn't telling you that. Even if the movie's going through great pains to tell you that's not what it is, you can't help but think about that. And the reason for that is because Halloween 2 specifically, and even Halloween H2O, are so ingrained in our DNA and in film history. We cannot get away from it. So even if just for that reason alone, Halloween 2 is the true sequel to Halloween 1978. Halloween 2018 is not a bad sequel to 1978. It's a nice branch alternate reality, as Jamie Lee would put it, you know, a choose your own adventure path that they went on. It is a nice branch, and it built into a stronger trilogy, in my opinion, as it went on. But you're asking me right now which one's the true Halloween 2? It's this guy, and I don't even hesitate. But I want to know down below in the comment section, what do you guys think? What is your preferred sequel to the original Halloween and why? Please discuss that in the comments with me down below. Leave a like on this video if you haven't already. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. This is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and I am pulling out.